You're on the air with Florenza, your podcast destination for authentic conversations with a twist. So, grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and join me on this unique literary journey. Cheers! Chrissie Dixon is a debut author and lifelong encourager known for her uplifting and inspiring storytelling. Her first book, No Junk in My Trunk, is an empowering fable about courage, self-discovery, and embracing one's unique abilities. Through the journey of its relatable characters, the story resonates with anyone navigating life changes and challenges, offering a powerful message of resilience and hope. Please join me in welcoming Chrissie to the show. Thank you so much, Chrissie, for joining me for this episode of On the Air with Florenza. Now, as is my tradition, before we jump right in, and boy, are we going to jump, let's toast to a successful show. And yes, and you have, ooh, that looks so refreshing. What are you drinking today?
Starbucks green matcha tea.
Ooh, and
So
I am
yummy.
behaving. I've got a guava pineapple juice blend. Yes. So cheers.
Cheers.
Mhm.
Mm.
That's really good. Okay. You and I spoke a few days ago prior to coming on air, and there was something that you said that I just want to dive right in with. You had shared, if I got this correctly, that the book idea came to you as a result of your grandchildren taking personality tests. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about that and how that led to your book, No Jump in My Trunk.
Thank you. I sat down to write during COVID.
Uh-huh.
So I used my gifts during that time to organize my closets, and I learned how to do spa folds with towels, and I birded. And finally I just sat down because all the talents I was used to using, I had kind of used up in a
Uh-huh.
couple of weeks. But this time that I'd never been allowed, just time alone in the quiet, I just sat and I decided I would try to use my gifts to write something.
Nice.
But what stayed in my mind instead of writing something deep was how to how to encourage people that to use their own gifts.
Yes.
And during COVID, whenever my kids would say, Nana, I'm bored because they were all stuck at home. And I have five grandgirls from my number one son and his beautiful wife, Kelly. And I would say, are you using your gifts? Are you singing? Are you dancing? Are you playing an instrument? Are you, you know, drawing? Are you writing? One of them just writes very well. So with my five girls, I've got my firstborn's a very strong, domineering type personality.
Uh-huh.
My second is a lot quieter. You can find her somewhere, just she'll spin out of a room quietly and she'll be
Oh,
somewhere with some type of technology or just in the quietness with her thoughts. And then my third one is a very dynamic personality. So the story I was sharing with you was that my son and his wife did a personality test with the girls. And it was the one where the strongest one is considered a lion.
uh-huh.
I don't know the exact name of the one they did, but so they took the test, and Mama Kayla, the oldest, she came out the lion. And when you hear lion, you just can't help it. There's these preconceived
You're
ideas
gonna
of what we
cheer.
think is awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
So then my Sarai did hers, and it wasn't a lion. I can't remember what it was. It was one of the other three. And this was, 4 years ago, but she quietly said, I hate my personality.
Oh,
And the thought of her, this amazing little girl, hating her personality, I knew I had to set out to show her and women everywhere um, that all the personalities are leaders. And
yes.
in No Jump in My Trunk, that's what I try to show, that no personality is perfect. There's a flaw with each one,
Right.
but yet they're all leaders just the same. And I am happy to say now that that firstborn, she is still the amazing Michaela, but her sister Sarai is also amazing, doing lots of leadership roles in her schools, knowing that she can just be who she is. So that
Right.
self-awareness is powerful, because once you feel that, once you know who you are, then you're not afraid to let other people be who they are.
Was there a point for you after writing the book, even though it was prompted with the grands and
Mhm.
it speaks to so many people, but was there a point that even you had to reflect back on the words and just kind of bathe in the healing flow of it?
Definitely. I kept an old journal from when I was 21. I took
Ooh.
an outdoor education class called
Uh-huh.
Outward Bound in North Carolina, up in the western North Carolina mountains.
Uh-huh.
And it was May. And what's so cool is I turned 22 on the course. And
Oh.
no one knew it was my birthday on there. So I woke up that morning. I remember putting on a cold, wet bathing suit in the canopy under the trees. Nothing dries, so it's horrible. Um, and that whole day, it was like it's my birthday, and I got to have that moment. So when I opened up that journal that I've had, I'm pushing 57 now, so
Looking
20 some
32.
years, huh?
I said
No
looking
way, no way.
32.
You can fix that and make that happen. Um, so when I looked at that book, I realized I went back to some of those feelings of there was so much fear in that book. I was afraid, 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 afraid. Oh, we're getting ready to climb a rock today. We're getting ready to rappel. I'm afraid. In the ropes course, I realized then from my reading, because I wrote about how I froze up in the ropes course.
Uh-huh.
And the reason I froze is I saw a gentleman who was much taller than me, and he went it's called a postman's walk.
Uh-huh.
So even though we're on belay, so you're not going to crash to your death, you will hang if you
Right.
fall.
Uh-huh.
And with most things, when we take a chance, we're not going to crash to our death,
Right.
but nobody just wants to fail.
Right.
So I watched him, and he grabbed a branch over his head as he went across to stable. And I'm 5 foot tall. When I saw he grabbed that branch, I just sat down because
Oh.
I thought there's no way I can get across. You have to be tall to get across. I use jump as a metaphor for something that you don't have and you wish you had. So that
Mm-hmm.
was the jump at that moment was being taller. And
Mm.
he and my teacher, my instructor, Lisa Loveday, was down on the ground, and she looked up and she said, "Chrissy, what's wrong?" And I said, "I'm afraid."
Oh.
And this was 1989, I think.
Uh-huh.
And I had never heard what she was getting ready to say. She said to me, "I know you're afraid, but can you do it anyway?"
Wow.
And I stood up, and I remembered I had taken dance for many years,
Uh-huh.
and I just balanced myself right across that little pole, and I did it my way.
You did it your way. What was the emotion first hearing the question that was posed to you and then ultimately achieving that mission that was set out in front of you, being on your birthday? Just walk us through what that felt like.
Because I kept notes, and I just encourage everybody to journal. You think you'll remember, but when you write it down, you're there again.
Yes.
So there I am up in that tree, and I just I didn't expect her to say that. I expected her to say, because there was another girl from Florida also frozen up in the ropes course.
Uh-huh.
And soon they were going to have to get us down.
Yeah.
And she had been frozen longer than me. So when she said it, part of me tries to be obedient.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so I just got up and trusted her that I could try. A few years before that, I'd went through some things, and my mom had also told me in her own way, get up.
Uh-huh.
And I say that I believed more in her, and my hero in my book says the same. I believed more in my mother's words than I did in myself, but it got me, my belief in her got me up. And then again with this coach, I just got up, and I just one foot in front of the other. And at Outward Bound, they say you never fall if you keep walking. They
Oh.
say you walk in your mind, not with your feet.
Mm-hmm.
You walk with your mind. So if the mind says go, you just go. And next thing I knew, it was
You're
behind me.
across. You just referenced something that's so powerful and so, I believe, not tapped into as much for this generation. I'm 60 and a half, and
Oh,
I
good for
know the
you.
power of having strong women in our circle. And you spoke of your mom and of this leader who saw in you at the time what you couldn't see in yourself. How important is it for young girls today to understand the value that women, and I'm not going to say older women because younger women bring value as well, but speak to the importance of having that tribe.
Thank you. In No Jump in My Trunk, I call it the herd.
Yes.
And the herd that it can be at work, it can be wherever, but having someone that you know supports you 100%. I believe strongly in the word of God, and the unconditional love is so hard for some people to
Hmm.
understand. Not me, because I had it already. I have
Yeah.
it not in comparison to the unconditional love we get from God, but I had a grandmother who looked at me always kindly. Of course, an amazing mom,
Yeah.
but that grandmother who looks at you, and I'm one of four, but she
Uh-huh.
always saw me. You know, she looked around the breakfast table. Unfortunately, I will say my father and my grandfather died within 11 months of each other. So it was mom and my grandmother who raised us. But she would look around, and if she didn't see jelly, the only one who wanted jelly was me.
Oh.
She would, and my grandmother lived near us. She would just take off down the road. And if that didn't make you feel, I'm sitting at the table and everybody's looking, but I'm getting jelly. I didn't have to ask for it.
Mhm.
She wanted me to have it. She saw me.
Yes.
My mom, I kind of like Ella, I have an amazing big sister, Lisa,
Uh-huh.
and an unbelievable little protege, Lynn, that I think can do anything. And um, the way I was different from them was that they everything they did, they tried to do to be the very best.
Uh-huh.
And Lisa was so good at everything. And
Uh-huh.
Lynn was so competitive. I'm in this sister sandwich. And for example, if we had a band um, tryouts, you had to sit in the living room and listen to Lisa and Lynn play.
Uh-oh.
And mom would say, Chrissy, do you have band tryouts? And I would say, yes. And she would say, do you need us to listen? And I would say, no, I'm good. Because I knew I was not going to get first chair. And even the one time I did, I talked so much, they moved me all, Mr. Craig just moved me down a couple of spaces for talking. But mom would say,
No.
yeah, mom would say to me, she would say, you're the best Chrissy you can be. You're my Chrissy. I
Oh.
never had to. That's why me and my sisters are so close because we were not raised. I can't be jealous of Lisa. She, my sisters, that's who that I'd be jealous of myself.
Yes.
And this just encouraging women when we see each other, when we speak with each other, it's not a look up and down, who's the best.
Yeah.
It's self-awareness. So now when I go in and I know I'm the best Chrissy I can be, I can come to your podcast and I'm not sitting here thinking, man, I wish I could do a podcast.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking, I'm so glad she has a podcast so I can come and talk.
Yes.
So
That is
yeah, it's
so.
very important. It's vital to
Listen,
who
there
we
are
are.
so many nuggets and jewels in there. Oh my gosh, we're just going to have you on for a second show because just
Oh,
from
good.
that, I have questions. But I do want to ask you, you were raised in a small town in
Hmm.
North Carolina, and you
Yep.
just spoke of the family love that you have. How was being raised in a small town um, influential in your development and who you are today?
Wow, I can't believe you asked that. I hadn't thought about that. But when my dad passed, he was our PTO president at our little school, which was probably, I don't know, 3% African American.
Uh-huh.
But he had a plaque up. So he had passed away, but I walk into school, I'm in kindergarten, and there's a plaque with my dad's name. The
Oh.
teachers are so kind to us. They loved our dad, they loved us. Um, as we went on into school, this small town, we just felt love from it.
Uh-huh.
I know it sounds very naive to say that, but I loved my teachers in what we call junior high.
Uh-huh.
They supported us. Our dance teachers were kind to us. We were the doula girls.
Uh-huh.
That's what we were known as. We haven't been girls in a long time, but
Right.
we were the doula girls. That was our maiden name. And we were just, the town was so small
Uh-huh.
that you just knew everybody. and everybody knew you. And that's good if they know you in a good way. It's
Yeah.
bad if they think ill of you. But expectations were positive for me. I don't mean that people thought I should be the best.
Right, right.
When they saw me, they accepted me as who I was, and I was the, hey, how are you? What's going
Uh-huh.
on? That kind of person. I tried not to be me when I went away to college, and I forgot the first day.
Uh-huh.
I was me again, and everybody was like, "That's you."
You know what?
But
They will adjust. That is the beautiful part when you're authentic.
hmm
People will adjust or they will
yes,
make room for you to continue being you outside of their space. But man, when we get the fact that authenticity is our greatest gift, we will
you got
lean
it.
into it.
And even at work, I've started positions where people will say, "I'm just like you. I am just like you. I'm an optimistic person." And you're like, "That's great."
Yes.
And sometimes it's too much. I
Uh-huh.
see people in the hall and they just want to run. I've learned some people don't speak to them early in the morning because it's
Uh-huh.
just
Give
not a
them their
good time for
coffee.
them. So you learn that. But when you're so right, when they learn that this is me,
Yes.
day after day, year after year, non-changing,
Yes.
then they love me because that's who I am.
Yes.
And I get along very well with people who are extremely opposite from me
Yes.
because I love about them that they are who they are.
Yes.
And then that way we can work together.
Now, you just said that you guys were known as the doula girls, and I don't know, doula, my daughter's a doula. She's a birthing coach. So I think that's so
Oh,
ironic that I don't know the spelling of it, but just hearing you say you are the doula girls, I'm like, yeah, they were just running around birthing happiness all over the place.
Dula.
Okay.
It's a great story. You should look that one up too. We've got a great history.
Oh, wonderful. Now, you enjoy, if I get this right, you enjoy riding motorcycles on the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yeah.
Do you find inspiration while you're on those rides, or was there ever an adventure that took place that you'd like to share?
I will say we've been riding since we were 17 and 18. So I trust him so much when we
Uh-huh.
ride. But I will say when the baby, sorry, when our number one son,
Uh-huh.
Evan, when he left me, which is some people call went to college, um, it was healing
Uh-huh.
because I just rode on the back and cried a lot. And
Uh-huh.
John missed him too. So it was just healing just to have the wind blow and feeling free and to turn a page and realize this is something we can do now more that
Yeah.
he had went away. And also I do really weird things. Like one time I got my chewing gum stuck on my helmet
Oh,
and John has no idea. So I'm just back there trying to get the gum off the helmet. Another time, he thinks I'm so awesome. And he says
uh-huh.
to me, he says, "What are you thinking about?" And I was actually looking for Bigfoot at the time
Oh.
because we were just up in the mountains.
Uh,
So I'm like, trying to think of something cool to be thinking about besides Bigfoot searching. But I haven't been on the bike much since I decided that I was a rider during COVID.
uh-huh.
But I do think a lot. I sing a lot, and the wind I love wind, and it's very peaceful for me, especially if you trust the driver.
Yes. And it seems like you've traded the adventure of the two wheels for the adventure of the pen. Talk to us a little bit about what a reader is to expect, because you said something as well. You said it takes 90 minutes to read what took 4 years to create or to write.
Yes.
And what is the reader to expect from this book, and what is the expectation or your hope that they take away from it?
Okay, thank you. The 90 minutes, the story doesn't even take 90 minutes, but there's other parts to it. Um, it was for those people who I have ran into who just don't want to read. They want to just get little bits.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to intimidate them so that they won't pick it up. What I hope they'll get out of it is the fact that it's like a teaching tool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that they'll see the story. They'll see how the hero, even though she's got this supportive family, she hears someone else let her say that she's not special, and that person that, well, it's not a person, personification, but that egret, it's an egret, and egret is known to be very wise in African folklore. So of course it must be true
Uh-huh.
because she hears the egret say it and she receives it. She doesn't share that with her family, but she begins to develop a very closed mindset. Dr. Carol DeWitt calls that a fixed mindset, thinking that your qualities are unchanging. This is just who I am. This is just where I have to work. This is what I have to do. And she develops this. She heard the egret say she was a stay putter. And I want people to realize a stay putter does not mean you stay at the same company.
Right.
A stay putter is in the mind. A stay putter in poker, from what I understand, I don't know how to play poker or any type of card game, but goldfish. And I think
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I cheated that. Um, a stay putter is one who keeps their hand and doesn't draw another hand in hopes of still winning. And I want folks to realize you don't win if you don't draw another hand. And that
Mm,
doesn't mean I don't want people to read, what I don't want is people to read No Jump in My Trunk and say, I've got to change jobs. No, you got to go back to where, if you love where you are, you
right.
go back, but use your gifts.
Yes.
Don't be a stay putter, someone who everybody expects to just do the same thing, never have a new thought, never use their talent at work. Also, what I hope they'll get out of it, I used a lot of African proverbs. And that translates for me to anytime I had an issue, or my sisters had an issue, or my dear brother. Mom always spoke to us with the word of God. And she didn't do it in a way that was pushing
Right.
it down your throat. She
Yes.
just would quote the things and hope that it resonated with you.
Hmm.
So to be more open to folks, I chose African proverbs so that we could all relate to those things
Yeah.
and find that ancient wisdom in them. Um, and the part I love, love, love is that the hero Ella, when she goes to away to camp, she meets these four characters, and it's the four personalities that live within all of us
Uh-huh.
that we also meet from day to day. And she thinks each one is just more, is total imposter syndrome. She thinks they belong there. She doesn't belong there. Why is she there? She's awesome. She's smart. And finally, she learns that they all have a little something that they are concerned about. And I just want people to see that transformation and to relate to the character. It's all women in the character except for her brother. Um, but I wanted it to be something everyone could relate to. I know women, so I wrote from a woman's perspective.
Uh-huh.
But I'm hoping they'll get that, read it, then go back again, look at the character list, see the metaphors. I've got some games. If you go to my website, I show them there's some initiative that groups can play. It's for companies, but I also just really relate to that transitional time when kids go to college.
Oh, I love that.
Thank
Now,
you.
where are listeners able to engage with you, to connect with you, to learn all things Chrissy, and just kind of virtually hang out with you?
Okay, well, I'm working on a really good website, but my website is cheerupandlive.com. That was the first mantra I ever accepted for myself when I was 21. It was from John 16:33. In this world, you'll have trouble. Guess
Yes.
what? I had some trouble at that time.
Uh-huh.
It said, but take courage. It translated to take heart.
Uh-huh.
And then I found a translation that said, cheer up. I've overcome the world. And when I saw cheer, and that's kind of
Yes.
all I knew how to do at the time,
Uh-huh.
I just clung to that. Then later in my life, I developed some other mantras. But yeah, cheer up and live at gmail.com is my email, and cheerup.com is my website.
Well, thank you so much for taking out your pom poms and cheering us up today. We've come to the part of our show that I call One for the Road. And in lieu of my normal this or that questions, you have, my dear, an excerpt from your book. Thanks to your beautiful husband, he recommended this one. Cheers for the husbands and the partners and the spouses. I love you said you are the balloon, but he is your string. Oh, that is so beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
I'm going to go ahead and just become from being a participant to a patron, and I'm going to sit here and listen to you read a bit from your book, and you're going to set the stage for us. And we are now all ears to you, my friend.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start out with just a little bit of when Ella overhears a conversation about herself. And this is the egret. After I read just a little tad of that, I'm going to go to a part in the book where, if you're familiar with a solo, in this course, there's a solo where everybody goes off by themselves. And she's the last one with the leader. The leader's name is Leader Llama. And Leader Llama is going to share some information with her.
Okay.
Okay? The mother held the esteemed title of matriarch and had the enormous responsibility of caring and providing for the herd. She accepted this honor with pleasure, allowing it to fill her busy days with Faraha. Ada's birthright entitled her to follow in her mother's footsteps, and this great expectation stimulated her mind with continuous thoughts of Faraha. Mosey, who was naturally built for adventure, triggered his Faraha through exploration and physical and mental challenges. Then there was Ella, who rose early each morning, smiling and happy, spending her days encouraging and motivating all the members of the herd to seek Faraha for themselves. Ella did not recognize her gift of exhortation, nor did she understand the power of promoting Faraha within the herd. She only knew that in doing so, she increased her own. Mother Elephant took immense pride in all her children's talents, trusting that an elephant's gift makes room for her. One day, Ella was out trumpeting good morning greetings to everyone she met when she stopped short, hearing hushed tones in the brush. "It's true, and everyone knows it," said the great egret, sitting atop an old elephant cow. "The sister Ada is incredibly beautiful," she continued, "and her good fortune gained by birth is a gift to the herd as our next queen. Then there is the young bull Mosey. He is strong and brave with a natural drive to explore, and it will not be long before his instincts pull him away from the herd for a life of great adventure. But," she leaned forward, lowering her voice, causing her eager audience to strain to hear, "like I was saying, that middle one, Ella," she added a dramatic pause, "she is a positive and creative child, but a stay-putter if ever there was one. Dare I say, there is nothing special about Ella, but at least she can always be counted on to support the herd." The eager congregation nodded in loyal agreement. "After all," she added, stretching her long neck with self-appointed authority, "stay-putters are essential to the herd."
Oh,
So after the solo, everybody has been taken to their parts. It's now just Leader Llama and Ella. Now it was just Ella. As they walked along in silence, the coarse grass grew taller. Ella, fixating on finding Jump in her trunk, could hardly wait to reach her drop-off destination. Approaching Ella's solo site, Leader Llama resolved to discuss the elephant in the room. "Ella," she snorted and spat nervously, "we need to talk." "What about your silence rule?" Ella asked. The llama's expression softened. "Some rules are meant to be broken," she replied. Having Ella's attention, she continued, "I am aware that you have waited all day to unpack your trunk and find your jump." Ella responded with a slow and foreboding, "Uh-huh." At that moment, Leader Llama ripped off the Band-Aid. "I'm going to save you some trouble, Ella. You won't find Jump in your trunk." "What? Why are you saying that? How could you know what I will or will not find in my trunk?" "I know that you won't find Jump simply because—" The llama took an exasperated breath. "Elephants can't jump." She hesitated to make sure her words had sunk in. "But why?" Ella was shaking her head slowly in disbelief, her dreams of jumping crashing all around her. "Well, it's an old story, but as I understand it, Jump was a gift given to all the animals for self-defense against predators. And being the largest land mammal and without a one-on-one predator, the elephant never needed this skill. Therefore," she offered an apologetic tooth-filled smile, "you don't have Jump."
wow. Wow. Look.
I'm so
Bravo.
excited. Thank
Bravo.
you. Thank you. Too kind.
Listen, I know that you hold workshops and you go to schools and such. with your book. And I am just hoping that as readers are listening and those who are in positions to have you to come into their circles to speak about the messages that are in the book, and to inspire and encourage all of those who are in their circles to know that resiliency is there, that inspiration is there, that we can unpack some of those things that have been holding us back, and that we can be like you were on that rope when the instructor says, I know that you're afraid, but can you do it anyway? Can you try? And so thank you for bringing your words to us to encourage us to know that, yeah, we might be a little bit afraid, but that doesn't mean that we can't try.
You got it. Thank
Awesome.
you. I've
You're
had so much
welcome.
fun.
I did too. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll never.
And this wraps up another episode of On the Air with Florenza. You may follow me on all social media platforms under Florenza Lee or via my website at florenza.org. Until next time, cheers.